Hi, my name is Brooke and I am That New Teacher, and this is part 2 of my teacher interview tips. So today the question that I'm answering is, what do you ask when the interviewer asks you, do you have any questions for me? I feel like that is the most intimidating thing when you're in an interview and you're like, yeah, this is going good, and then they pop that question in and you're like, oh, do I? I don't know if I have. So I have a few ideas for you on how you can ask some questions when they ask you if you have any questions. So it's important, first of all, to say that it is good to come prepared with a question. It makes you look interested in the job. It makes you stand out a little bit as a candidate, and it shows that you actually have put some thought into this interview before you just showed up and started answering the question. So one of the first questions I would ask is, what is a typical classroom size? Now this question is actually going to be really helpful for you. It's not just going to show them that you're interested, but if you are deciding between two different jobs and one has a classroom size of 17 and one has a classroom size of 32, that could be a really big deciding factor. So classroom size is a really easy question to throw out there, and it's a really helpful answer for you. Another question that I like to ask is, what is parent-teacher relationships? What are parent-teacher relationships like in your school or in your district? Are parents heavily involved? Are they more hands-off? I live in an area where most of the parents are working, both parents are working. We don't have a ton of stay-at-home moms. It's a high-cost living area. So most of the parents are working, meaning they're going to be a little less involved in the day-to-day. That doesn't mean they don't participate in any way, but it's just a little bit different in the way that they do participate. You kind of might have to read between the lines. They're probably not going to spell it out perfectly for you, but you can kind of get an idea, get a feeling for what it might be like. Another question I like to ask is pretty much the same thing. What are staff relationships like? You want to connect with your staff, so it's nice to hear that we have a really close-knit community, or we do things together on the weekends, or we get together for Super Bowl Sunday. Different things like that will stand out to you and might help you make your decision when you're deciding what school to work for. The last question is the most telling for me, and the question is, what does a successful teacher look like to you, and how do you measure that? So if you're not interviewing specifically with a principal, then if they're not on the panel, then that might not be a super helpful question, because if you're just interviewing with district officials, then they can't really answer that for you. But if you're applying to a private school or they have a principal on the panel, then that's a great question. You can hear straight from their mouth what they expect from you and how they will measure you. So they might throw out, well, I just so happen to, observe formally once a week. You would want to know that, right? So, and you can also hear, for example, when I am at the school that I'm currently at, when I asked that same question, his response had the words hard work repeated. And so I knew he expects me to show up and work hard. He doesn't expect you to just do the bare minimum. He wants you to go above and beyond. I went into this job knowing that that's what he sees as a good teacher. That wasn't the only thing he said, but it was something that stood out to me and that I could hear from him. So those are just some ideas for you to ask some questions when they ask, do you have any questions for us? It's really important. It can be really revealing. You're the one who has to make the decision as well. So it's really nice to go in with some interview questions of your own. All right, best of luck on your interview, and I hope to see you next time.